Welcome to True Crime Legacy. I'm your host, Eagle. Today we're going inside some of the most chaotic and disruptive courtroom scenes you'll ever hear about. Stand by as we break down outrageous defendant behavior, violent outbursts, ignored judges, and more. This is gonna be a wild ride. Our first story takes us to Orlando, Florida. Defendant Dale Roy Greenman is appearing before Judge Carly Wish for a petty theft charge. But when the judge tells him his charges may be elevated to a felony based on his prior record, Greenman snaps. Greenman rips off his mask and begins yelling that he's a federal witness, refusing to give his real name. Officials have to physically restrain the out-of-control defendant and haul him out of court.
Hello, Your Honor.
State your name.
Mr. Greenman.
Can you tell me your name?
Roy Greenman.
First up, we're in the Orange County Courthouse in Orlando, Florida, where Dale Roy Greenman is in a bond hearing for theft charges. The hearing begins rather cordially.
Good afternoon, sir. Can you tell me your name, please?
Hello, Your Honor.
State your name.
Mr. Greenman.
Can you tell me your name?
Roy Greenman.
But Greenman, whose bond is set at $250, listens closely when Judge Carly Wish asks the state if they have a better offer that might get him out of any jail time.
You were arrested for petty theft. Did you find probable cause? Miss Kenny Swanson, did you have an offer?
I did not, Your Honor.
No offer? Is that due to the out-of-state criminal history?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is about to break the news.
So, Mr. Greenman, you have prior history out of state, and so the state may enhance this offense to a felony based on your prior. So I can't do anything with your case today. I am gonna appoint the public defender for you.
That's horse. You do whatever the you want.
Excuse me?
My name is Mr. Greenman. I'm the federal witness of the United States federal government. I demand some respect, you. Let's get a jam round along y'all did and figure out what you're
All right,
doing.
he can be removed once y'all get him out.
Now.
Greenman erupts after the judge tells him that the state may raise his charges from a misdemeanor to a felony.
You're not.
That's horse. You do whatever the you want.
Excuse me?
My name is Mr.
Two officials on hand move in swiftly to restrain Greenman. But before they grab his wrists, he rips off his mask and begins shouting that he's a federal witness.
Mr. Greenman. I'm the federal witness of the United States federal government. I demand some respect, you.
Greenman's hauled out of the courtroom and back into custody. Then Judge Wish, seemingly unfazed by the outburst, just carries on.
Greenman is the epitome of a defiant defendant who loses it when he doesn't like what he hears. Now we move to a virtual courtroom in Broward County, Florida. Henry Mitchell is charged with grand theft for allegedly stealing from a restaurant. The prosecution recommends a $5,000 bond. But listen to what happens when the defense attorney forgets to mute himself.
All right, Mr. Mitchell, you're before the court this morning on one charge of grand theft. I do find probable cause, and I will first hear from the attorneys with their recommendations. We'll start with Mr. Linder.
Judge, I'm recommending a $5,000 bond and no return. While I see no priors, I do believe this is obviously not your run-of-the-mill grand theft.
Oh, you, Linder. Who cares what you have?
Mr. Miller, excuse me, but your microphone is on, and if we have one more outburst like that, we're going to be having a very serious discussion with your supervisor. I would expect that you would apologize to Mr. Linder right now.
A stunned silence fills the virtual courtroom. The attorney is forced to apologize, but the damage is done. A simple slip-up leads to a major disruption.
Defendant, and from Linder himself.
Mr. Miller, excuse me, but your microphone is on. I would expect that you would apologize to Mr. Linder right now.
After a brief pause, Miller offers an apology. Sort of.
Turn the
I
microphone.
apologize that my microphone was on, Judge.
You know, he should be sanctioned.
We'll be having a discussion with Mr. Goldberg after the session today.
Saying this is not your run-of-the-mill grand theft. The strength of the evidence against Mr. Mitchell is abundantly strong, including but not limited to his confession.
Linder still seems agitated by the attorney's outburst, but forges ahead.
Your Honor, he plotted with his co-arrestee well in advance to not only steal over $4,000 from this business, but to set it up to make it look like there was an armed robbery. Your Honor, I would also note, by his own admission, he stole over $2,000 in cash from the safe from the business, and the cash has not been recovered. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Finally, the judge is ready to make her decision.
In Mr. Mitchell's case, the monetary bond is going to be set at $3,000 and there will be an order of no return. Mr. Mitchell, that simply means you're not to go to that location for any reason. Do you understand that, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Our next case takes us to a murder arraignment in Massachusetts. When the medical examiner reveals the victim suffered 69 stab wounds, the victim's brother snaps. It takes 4 deputies to restrain the understandably emotional brother. His violent outburst gets him his own criminal charge.
Next, we're in Chelsea, Massachusetts for an arraignment hearing. The defendant in the holding cell is 46-year-old Peter DeConnick. He's been charged with first-degree murder for allegedly stabbing his friend Ronald Russo to death. Investigators say the friends were partying inside this trailer home when a verbal argument escalated into a violent knife fight. Police found Russo on the floor clutching a knife. A bloodied DeConnick was arrested at a nearby train station. Now at the podium, the prosecutor shares a grisly detail about the murder.
Further investigation, the autopsy report revealed that Mr. Russo did suffer 69 knife wounds to his body.
The mention of the number of stab wounds appears to enrage the victim's brother, who charges towards the defendant.
Did suffer 69 knife wounds to his body.
It takes 1, 2, 3, 4 deputies to remove Thomas Russo from the courtroom. Russo's arrested following the outburst and is charged with disturbing the courtroom and resisting arrest. He's later released on a personal reconnaissance bond after telling the judge that he needed to make funeral arrangements for his slain brother. As for the defendant, Peter DeConnick, he's later found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison.
In Sanford, Florida, defendant Antonio Rosales reacts violently when labeled a child molester, smashing a computer monitor.
Next, we head to Sanford, Florida, where closing arguments are underway in the trial of Antonio Rosales. Rosales is accused of dragging a 10-year-old girl off the street and into a wooded area, where he reportedly assaulted and raped her. The defendant is described as a drifter with a violent past. Assistant State Attorney Anna Valentini is delivering her closing argument when Rosales, through a translator, vehemently objects. Seemingly insulted by being labeled a child molester, Rosales grabs a keyboard and smashes the computer monitor on the defense table. Two officers attempt to restrain him, slamming him to the floor. Meanwhile, Judge Deborah Nelson seems as though she's struggling to open a door, so she calls for some help. But Rosales is not done fighting. Finally, with the help of additional officers, Rosales is cuffed and then carried out of the courtroom.
Everybody calm down. We'll take it to the
and Judge Nelson suspends the trial for the evening. The next day, the jury finds Rosales guilty of kidnapping, attempted murder, and sexual battery.
And in Las Vegas, a defendant resists arrest after his bond is revoked, requiring multiple officers to detain him. The moral is clear: emotions run high when stakes are life and liberty.
Defendant accused of violating his parole. A year earlier, 35-year-old Michael McDonald was released on bond while he awaited trial for charges including burglary, forgery, and perjury. The criminal charges stem from a long and contentious divorce and custody case that ended with his ex-wife being granted a no-contact order to keep McDonald away from her and their 2 children. Now, as he awaits trial on criminal charges, the state argues he violated his parole when he violated that no-contact order.
One of his release conditions was to have no contact with the individual, his ex-wife. Approximately a month ago in June, he then mailed a number of items to his wife's address.
The items mentioned were actually gifts addressed to his children. McDonald's lawyer claims his client didn't know sending the items violated the no-contact order and argues he should be allowed to remain out on bond until his upcoming trial.
He sent 2 gifts, that's it. No nasty notes with them. Mr. McDonald is not violent nor a threat to the community. He has had no allegations of violence.
The defense is presenting McDonald's actions as an innocent mistake. But Judge Kathy Hardcastle knows the history of the case and isn't buying it.
I would note that back in the family court, he constantly violated orders. He would always insist that the order said something else.
The judge also cites McDonald's history of unstable behavior during his divorce that ultimately led to the no-contact order being granted.
I was the one who found that he was a potential danger to his children because he lied to the court about surrendering his weapons after he'd been ordered to surrender his weapons, and that because of his bizarre behavior from the tracking device on his wife's vehicle. And so I'm seeing the same type of conduct, and it's an obsession. It's a escalating course. I'm not sure that he is capable of controlling himself because he wasn't before. So based upon that, I am granting the motion.
Moments after the judge makes her decision that McDonald did indeed violate the conditions of his parole, 2 court marshals approach McDonald with handcuffs.
Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back.
It's unclear what McDonald is trying to say to the judge as he pulls his arms away. What is clear is that McDonald is not ready to cooperate.
Mike, calm down.
Behind your back.
Mike, calm down. Just relax. Breath. Mike, breath.
I got this about this. Come see my kids. Come on.
Mike, calm down. You take a deep breath.
Guys, assistance in 15 charges. 15 charges. Stop. Come on. Please, I don't want to. You got it? Please.
As you can hear, McDonald's attorney calmly tries to get him to settle down.
I'm going to take her.
Mike, stop fighting with them.
Understand? I'm going to tase you.
But as he continues to resist, even with the threat of being tased, his lawyers had enough.
Mike, put the handcuffs on, or I'll put them on myself.
Hey, come on.
I'm on your side, Mike, put your out of line.
As additional officers come to restrain McDonald, he continues to plead his case.
I just want to see my kids now. I'm getting prosecuted as an enemy of the state. I just want. I've done nothing.
Michael McDonald was found guilty of multiple counts of burglary, forgery, and perjury in relation to his divorce case and was sentenced to 24 to 68 months in Nevada State Prison with credit for 215 days served.
But these episodes of defiance and violence disrupt the legal process. However aggrieved, parties must control themselves in court. That's our look at chaos in the courtroom. Sometimes the drama inside equals the alleged crime that got them there. This is Eagle signing off for True Crime Legacy. We'll see you next time.